Okay. Okay, it's 7:02, so I'll call the town council meeting with the Block Island School Committee to order.
Do I have to call our group together, Gus? Because, all right, because of the joint meeting.
Yeah.
All right, so I will call the school committee meeting with the town council. To order, 3 members present. Charlie Weber, Annie Hall, Christopher Willie.
Okay. And this is the annual meeting in accordance with the statute, which just basically means, you kind of tell us where you are with things. I suppose we could probably just start with an update on the renovations that have happened and then.
Sure, Charlie, that's your.
Well, where we are is the wrong building. I don't like people behind me, especially teachers. The renovation is on hiatus right now until the spring, but they've accomplished a lot more than what they thought they were going to at this point. They're probably a solid month and a half ahead of schedule. The original plan was to get the east and north side done. They have just about the entire west side done as well. And they're gone till the spring. They'll come back in the spring, button everything up. They'll be out of there by August. That's where we are. The remediation process is done with the vermiculite issue that we had. There's a small punch list still to do there, some painting touch-ups here or there. And ongoing is they're cleaning all the ductwork out and everything because of our Ahara report. Wasn't quite up to task. There will be some other stuff going on with that, some drywall repair and removal, some ceiling repair and removal, but that won't happen until February break. And that's where we're at with the building.
Okay, nobody got any questions? No? Now, are you starting on the next, there's another cycle that's coming up with the Department of Education, is that true?
Yes, yeah, that's on our agenda. I don't know
I have an update on that.
if you want to
You give an update.
Hi. So we're also in the early stages of developing a construction package to address the older building, the 1933 building portion of the school. There are ongoing issues in the basement area of that building that we're looking into options to move forward, which could include possibly replacing the current elementary portion of the school. This would be a process involving the whole community. We're in very early stages of planning. The educational consulting team is actually coming to the school tomorrow for the first meeting. Well, we had a kickoff meeting virtually, but first on-site meeting is tomorrow. They'll have meetings with myself, Principal Warner, Amy, and Lisa Robb, the union president, tomorrow, and then take a tour of the facilities. There'll be much more that the community will hear. We hope to engage the whole community in this process going forward. It's several years out, but we're just starting the planning stages now.
When you say replacing the elementary, you're talking about like the original, the
Yeah.
original.
Yes, sir.
it's had its run.
Yeah.
You know, the average lifespan of a school in this country is 50 years. Which is 92 with that one.
So
The major portion of the $10.6 million that was approved at the town financial meeting a couple of years ago, the major portion of that, well over $6 million worth of it, was going into an HVAC system. You try to put an HVAC system, especially at $6 million. Like all over again, at $12 million. So. And to renovate that building would cost you twice as much money. So we're feeling out the options at this point, we kind of pumped the brakes on the whole big project, did the stuff that really needed to be done, the gym repairs. Got rid of the vermiculite. And we're seeing what our next steps are gonna be.
So on the original 10 million, how much, when you're done with those two items you talked about, what were what do you
Around
expect?
3.
So that'll cost around 3, so you're
Yeah.
hoping to have 7 of what the original
Yes,
budget was.
yeah, yeah.
And then,
I'm saying 3, I think it's
I
more like
understand.
2.6 or something, but
and so the concept now is that you're gonna reevaluate the entire,
the entire process. You know, and see where we're at with it. Because the bid, we got one bid back on the whole process for the 10.6 that the town allows to have, and the bid was 13.4. So we already couldn't do it,
Sure.
you know, so it didn't make any sense to try to move it any further and pick and choose, do we do this or do that, because that whole plan kind of worked as one process, you know, barring the fact of the gym, you know, because the gym's not gonna go anywhere. It's only 15 years old, you know? It just needed some help, which,
so the monies that you did use, if you do, when you go back to this drawing board, okay, these other items would be done regardless, so it isn't.
exactly,
Right.
exactly. And we still get, you know, of that money that we're spending, we still get a 40% reimbursement from RIDE for it. So it's well worth spending the money, you know, because it's 40% off basically, you know?
So on that 40%, if you reevaluate, let's say it takes 2 years or 3 years, will that formula still remain? Are you allocated that money?
Yeah,
So,
and that's why we're trying to push it, because who knows what the legislature's gonna do, you know? Right now, RIDE has the funding. I mean, the state is spending a lot of money on schools right now, like a lot. And we can't miss a vote on it, you know, if they're willing to give us 40% back on it. Now's the time to spend the money.
so what's the criteria to have that locked in? Does it have to, you know, in the eyes of the state, is it an award or?
We have to get our stage 1 submitted by February, which is what we're working on now. And once the stage 1 gets approved, we're in. Basically, you know,
That's for
stage
the,
2 and there's a whole process, you know.
that's for the project that you're working on.
Nope, that's already approved. We've gone through all stage
Okay.
1, 2, and 3 on that already. That took 2.5 years to get through all that. And we got through all that. And then it went out to bid and it came back at 13 plus.
Right.
You know, and that's when we decided, okay, that we can't do this. What do we need the most, you know? Fix the gym from leaking.
Sure.
So that's being fixed. And now we'll reevaluate what we're gonna do going forward, because the school got sent home early today because they didn't have any heat in the building. You know, there's issues there that, you know, from what I understand, I don't know exactly, Mike could probably tell you better than I could. It was the old part of school that didn't have any heat.
Right.
You know?
Correct. That's
So,
right. Yes,
I think that the key is to not lose out on that, which I'm sure you're aware of, lose
Yes,
out on that.
that's
that
why
matching
we're-
funds and
that's
keep
why
it
we're
afloat.
sprinting right now, you
Great.
know?
Good to hear.
So the stage 1 that you're talking about will cover whatever conversations you're gonna be having between now and February in planning to go forward with
yes,
potentially.
Right. And we don't even have to have a design. We don't have to have anything like that. We just have to have the intent of doing it, basically.
Mhm.
Civic, the educational planners that we're working with. Manuel Carrera, I think that's how you say his last name. He worked for RIDE for like 20 years. And he's the principal at this firm. And he's a pretty sharp guy, and he's a nice guy, and he's easy to work with from the couple of meetings we've had with him. So he knows kind of how to do this, basically, and I think we have the right team put together to move forward to make it happen pretty quickly.
So I may have missed that. I apologize for being late, but so is stage 1, I'm sorry?
I went to the school. Did you go to the school too?
For this meeting, no, Molly, you knew.
No, no, I was cleaning and got distracted. No, sorry. But is stage 1 the heating?
Stage 1 is the intent. Okay, so the part that you missed was that we're not doing anything with, you know, the old project that we had going with the $10.6 million that the town approved 2.5 years ago, or whatever for us.
Wait, so we're talking about a new stage
A
1,
new stage 1.
right? And so what's a new stage 1
A new stage
in
1
your
is
vision?
A new elementary building. And get rid of the old elementary building that doesn't work.
Okay, but in the meantime, I mean, I worked in a classroom last week that had no heat.
Right.
It was really
From
cold.
what our facilities manager has told us, we can keep the heating system limping the next couple of years until we get this done. So that's what the game plan is to leave the students leave everything status quo for the time being. We get this all approved. We build a new building while they're still going to school there. They move into the new building when we get rid of the old building.
Get rid of the old building or repurpose the old building?
Well, that's still up for discussion. I think the amount of money it's going to take to repurpose the old building is not going to be worth it. I think, this is my opinion. This hasn't been discussed anywhere outside of my brain. I've talked to a couple of people about it. The school's kind of backwards right now. The playing field on the north side of the field is on the north side of the building, right? It never gets any sun. It's cold all the time. If you build the building on that side, get rid of the old part and put the playing field on that side, you get sun all day long. Last year, we had a grant to put an outdoor entertainment space from the state. It was kind of a ludicrous grant. I think they were going to give us like $100,000, and the planning phase of everything was going to cost $100,000. But the money was there to do something, and they wanted to do like an amphitheater. And RIDE came out and looked at it, and they're like, "Oh yeah, put it right here outside the cafeteria." It's the dumbest thing I've ever heard of. It's on the north side of the building. Why would you put it there? Well, it's where you have space. It doesn't make any sense, If it was on the other side of the building, you would have sun all day long. It'd be beautiful. They have concerts out there in the summertime and stuff. I think if we think more towards that, if we think more practically, we can make that school a building that the entire community can use and not just the school. And moving forward, that's kind of what my vision is in it, but it's a lot more than just me. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So Charlie, let me ask, so if you have 7 million left, we get reimbursed from the state 40%. Is that going to be 40% of the 7 million or
40%
on top of it?
on whatever we spend.
Right.
So we're spending, like I said, around $3 million.
Right.
Which will, in the big picture, will cost us, we were 1.8. Right. We spent 3.
But on monies that we've already allocated, the $10,000, right?
Yeah.
I mean, excuse me, $10 million. I wish it was $10 million. We would be reimbursed what we spent. If we get reimbursed 40% on that, is the idea that we can look at spending whatever, it's 1.4 million or whatever, or is the idea is to not utilize that?
Not utilize the whole, we're only going to utilize what we need right now. The rest of it just goes back into vapor or whatever. It was never bonded. It was never allocated. Amy could fill you in way better than I can on that aspect of it.
Can I just jump in and give
There she
one
is.
number that's the project costs so far are 4 million total, and we have borrowed 4 million, and we're projected to expend 4 million. So that's where we are today.
So I'm off by $1 million.
That's okay. I just needed to say it out loud. Sorry to interrupt.
Wait, so let me ask you, Amy, so the remaining 6 million that was approved by the voters cannot just be reallocated by the school department. It has to match up with what it was allocated for, right? Or no?
It has to go through a very public vetting process. In an ideal world, the school committee and the school building committee would go through the process that they normally would bring it to financial town meeting as we traditionally do, and we would actually probably rescind the old authorization and issue a new one. There may be some small overlap. There may be some planning or engineering or preliminary funds that we could technically use from the existing authorization, but really to do it right, we would bring the whole process back through a community vetting exercise.
Thanks.
And that new process is going to start with stage 1 will not include the balance of the $6 million. That just goes away.
It doesn't go away. That authorization does still technically exist. So my point is that we want to make sure that the new process that is kicking off has the same level of vetting and authorization as we would normally require. Doesn't mean that there's just 6 million there for somebody to decide randomly. It still needs that same level of attention. Although that 6 million authorization, 6 and change, still does exist on the books.
On the books.
Mhm.
And can any of that 6 million be used partially to just plug in your heating system over the next couple of years or?
I don't know that there's a singular answer to that.
Okay,
You know, you could see a scenario where on the way to a more fully developed plan for the elementary school, heating system or other pretty major capital needs at the existing facility need to be addressed in short order. Say $1 million or $1.5 million. Could the school committee bring that request to the town to go out and borrow an additional 1 or 1.5 under the existing authorization? And we could all decide that, yes, that's what we wanted to do and move forward and all the proper channels exist? Yes. So I don't know if that answers your question, Nancy. Yes, it's possible. Yes, we want to be careful that we're giving enough due process.
Yeah.
But we probably wouldn't do it for a whole elementary school. We would
piece-
follow that approach on a much
piecemeal
smaller
fix.
scale gap need.
and if that went through with that amount that might be spent piecemealing your heating system together for a few years, would that be subject to the 40% reimbursement?
I'm gonna defer, not to put her on the spot, but to Melanie, who might know best. And if not, we can go look into that.
Yeah, I do not know for certain, but under emergency repairs, I believe it would.
Yeah.
But I guess the bottom line is you have enough confidence that you can get heat back on the elementary school for now. And
I don't have confidence in anything.
that heating system's
I
been
mean,
a
I just looked at it
disaster.
when I spent $3 million. I sounded pretty confident, didn't I?
I think the issue though is we gotta keep in mind, we had $10 million and it wasn't enough to cover what the building was. That's the reality to it. And we are doing some of these things, knocking off some of the priorities. Remember, every dollar we spent that's coming out of that 10 million that we have for the building. So if the 10 million was enough, with designing another building and so forth, it's gonna be more funding, obviously, it's gonna be needed for it.
Absolutely.
So, with the more funding, when you come in with a good chunk of it out of that 10 million, helps soften the blow on the other end of it. So I think the sooner that you have an idea as to what what you'd like to do and put forward and it's either accepted or not, I think it's gonna, it's easy to drain down that 10 and before you know it, it's gone at that end of it. So I just think just have to be mindful from that end of it, which I think you are, but I think
It's only getting more expensive
Right.
daily.
Yeah. And when you talk about the elementary school, I mean, are we talking about the section to the left of the library and that whole corridor or the whole?
Pretty
Building.
much where the old brick building starts. You
Starts.
can, if you go and look at it, there's the glass doors in the front.
Yeah,
That hallway that goes down, that brick building starts there. and goes
over
this way.
there, yeah.
You
Mhm.
can see the seam of the bricks and, it's pretty easy to tell the new school, the newer addition than the older.
And that was WPA, was that like 1933 or something?
1933.
Yeah, yeah.
And the mold issue in the basement, that is not able to be remediated,
It's
right?
being remediated.
Oh, you missed that.
But
right
not,
now.
not to a habitable
It's
status?
habitable.
Okay.
It's within standards, right?
It's
just not
within,
high
it's within
end.
standards. The recommendation was to do what we're moving ahead to do, the remediation. Yeah, there are some areas that we can remediate, but it'll come back because it's just very damp outside the buildings, very porous. So we can fix it for now, fix the, get to a point where we can stay on top of it as best we can until there's a new solution.
That was the plan with the remediation and fixing the stuff that we need to fix, was getting it to a point to where the custodial staff could keep it up for the next couple of years, like it's not gonna ever be perfect for the time being, but when you go down there, I don't know when the last time you were down in the ceramics room or the old gym that's down there and thing, it's like the air is thick,
Yeah.
there's no ventilation or it's just water runs out of the walls,
So Charlie, you said, what's the time frame again? You're hoping you're in a perfect world you're shooting for for a concept and idea of budgeting?
I can't give you an honest answer. You know, we have to have the stage one completed by February.
Yeah.
And then that's when the real kind of planning starts and, you know, there's gonna be a ton of input from the community on this. There has to be, you know, because like I said, I think it's a waste to have that building and have it only be used by the school. You know, I think there's so much more that can happen there with other people using it. And I think the way to do it fairly is seeing as the community will be paying for it is to let everybody get some input on it, you know? And, you know, that could take a year just to get that done, you know? I don't think you'll, you know, if this moved forward, I think the last submission or ride took 2.5 years, 3 years to get into, from the time that, you know, it started to the time that we got our first bid back on it. It's probably 3 years. So I think that's a realistic timeframe. Like I said, I just think that we need to have more input on this one and, because we're going a little bit bigger this time, you know? So I think in doing so, it's only fair to let everybody be involved.
We also have to take into consideration where the school's gonna be in 10 years,
Right.
15 years, 20 years. Whereas, you know, you can't predict it, but you could possibly forecast what's enrollment gonna be, et cetera. And then take that in consideration because it's a legacy building. It's not, it can always be repurposed down the line. That's public input would be very helpful for. If we're gonna spend money on it, what could possibly happen there in the future?
And I think that's all part of Civic's job. The educational planner that we hired to help us through this process is, you know, they've asked Mike for all that information, you know, all the census data and all that stuff. That's what their job is. You know, it's what they'll kind of come back to us and kind of tell us what we need. More or less, it's the reason for hiring someone like that. You know?
Every project's worthy. We have a lot out there and we need to get, we meaning the community in the town, we need to get a grip on whether it's a school, you know, the fire barn, or down in Champlin's, get a grip on how we're gonna lay these out and how we're gonna pay for them and, you know, as a group from that end. So I just think it's really important, you know, the sooner the better that you get, you know, kind of a concept so that when the town manager is putting things together, we can look at what the overall strategic plan is.
I just looked briefly at the minutes from last year and one of the conversations was about housing and the impact on staffing. So I'm just curious as to how that's going this year.
I can't tell you how it's going because this is only my second meeting, but I've had conversations with other school committee members and that my opinion should have been a priority 5 years ago. You know, like we do need administrative and teacher housing and I'm not sure how to approach it quite yet, but I think that discussion's on the horizon. And
Not that it couldn't be, how it couldn't be purpose or something else, of course, it would be somebody, but.
certainly help us if we had something on something similar to what's across the street. You know, that the town's gonna be able to use, but you know, use it for the school. I mean,
Well, and I think, Amy, you're working on a priority list for the housing across from the school, right?
Yes, I mean, and that part is set out in the consent order. And so we know that the first priority is for police officers. The next is for town employees, including school employees. So what we'll be defining in January is how that process gets executed, what the lottery looks like.
Amazon. I'm sorry, can you say that again? How many of our staff commute now, or I guess the question is year-round housing or not year-round housing?
So we have several new teachers who are on the island for the school year. During the shoulder season, I know that their rents were quite high. beginning end of the year will be quite high. Myself, Dan, the guidance counselor and the special ed director are at the Old Town Inn. Again, shoulder season, we are just overnighters. But majority of our teachers do live on the island full time, and that's expensive too for them. So
But we want to be able to have housing so we can attract
That's the
more applicants.
that is a challenge every year when we're looking for qualified applicants to come over and tell them,
Yeah.
you know, they have to find their own place to live. We have compiled a list this past summer of people who are willing to rent to the school, but the rents are, like everywhere, expensive,
Yeah.
especially for new teachers.
Have you been having conversations with the housing board with their rental housing that they're proposing over by
Paul O'Brien, I mean,
Paul
yeah, Paul
O'Brien?
O'Brien.
Yeah,
No, but that should be happening. I know. I thought they had a priority list as well because it's outlined in, like, I don't think I think I asked that question when they were in front of planning, if they can dedicate units to certain entities, if you would. And I thought the answer was no, but I can certainly ask if Cindy's still there. I can ask Cindy again.
yeah.
It's,
Yeah.
it's worth the ask. I think it had to go through a qualification process like all the other projects have. You had to
Financial
qualify- yeah,
qualification.
Financial qualification,
Yeah.
resident qualifications, et cetera.
Yeah.
So you know what I mean? I don't know if you can, like, it doesn't have the covenants that the Thomas property has.
But even with the covenants on the Thomas property for the police, we still have possibly the option of shared housing. If we need it for police, just for summer police, it would be available from September to May or so. You know, and could be used, I mean, if we decide to be used for the
Yeah,
school.
right.
And I don't know what the medical center deal is behind the Davidson House. Is that gonna be for year-round housing for interns or?
interns are in and out of there on a weekly basis almost. They
Year
spend a
round.
couple weeks there and then they go back to Brown and a couple more come out and.
That's
yeah,
through
but
that's through October, November, if I recall, right?
They're there, they're
Oh,
there
yeah,
now.
yeah, all right, so that's a year round issue.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
But that is, housing is and will be discussed. As you know, some long-term solutions, at least explored. It hasn't been.
Maybe this should be something that you guys actually poll your staff on, you know, if you could do some sort of a blind poll, because you don't want to make any assumptions. We don't want to guess at it, right? Like I think better to have the employee say, I'm looking for year-round housing and this is what I can afford, right? Or maybe they don't want to be here in the summer.
Yeah, if you, I'm sure, yeah, we could certainly do a formal poll if you'd like, but that's feedback that I've heard from the seasonal housing for the teachers that have to rent. That's feedback you hear. All right, but it's not on some official poll, so we could
Right.
certainly explore that.
I mean, it's all anecdotal right
Yeah,
now, right? You
exactly.
hear stuff, I hear stuff, we interpret it maybe differently. So it'd be better if it was standardized.
Pulling from the last time I was on the school committee, I've advocated for a permanent solution just for administration instead of renting.
Mhm.
Okay, I think at the time we were renting
Down the hill somewhere.
down the hill there.
It was the Johnny Leone's.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we were renting a house for and that, I don't even think that got us through the school year. I think there was a couple weeks they had to commute once the boat scheduled. So just from the administrative perspective, at that time, back then, which was several years ago, we needed it, in my opinion, because just the money that we were spending on just administrative housing didn't, in my eyes, compute. Why don't we just invest it in a piece of property and this is where they can go, and then when they're not there in the summer, it can be repurposed for something else, police officers, what have you. So,
Yeah.
So, yeah, we can certainly though, at a staff level,
employee level, explore that.
And I mean, if we had an early morning ferry every day, we wouldn't need so much housing. So that's something to like go at too.
Possibly, yeah.
Well, but that's tough for a teacher, you know, coming over every day on the boat and then going back on the boat and then heading home. And, you know, doing it again. It doesn't necessarily attract the best candidates.
But
But
that's not for me to
that's-
decide. That's for the teacher to decide.
Yeah. It
That's,
is.
you know, that's
But
not,
at the same time though, like the firm that's coming out to put together the study that we just talked about earlier, what's the firm's name, Charlie?
Civic.
Civic. Um. I mean, we have to take an honest look at I have no idea. All right, this is just off the top of my head. How many teachers have retired in the past 20 years? How many teachers do we expect possibly to retire in 20 years? What's the need gonna be? You know, what would the housing potentially be? Because let's face it, like some of the housing that a lot of our teachers live in now they're still gonna live in it. It's not like it's a rental. It's their house. They're gonna retire.
Mhm,
Then what? We don't necessarily have a pool of,
exactly.
you know, and I'm not going to eliminate a commute as an option. You know, you certainly can't eliminate that, but one of the better options is a more permanent solution to housing if we need more teachers in the next 10, 15, 20 years.
Well, and the wild card here is that families can't afford houses either. So
Right.
will we have children in the school?
Right.
And how many will we have?
That's why I mentioned that earlier. It's like
Yeah.
we really have to take a hard look at things like enrollment in the next decade.
Right.
I mean, it's that one of those discussions we have to have.
And even thinking further outside the box as far as getting teachers, I think it was Principal Warner last year came up with the idea of offering a scholarship to island students if they went to school for teaching, you know, and we gave them a scholarship for it with the, you know, with the caveat that they came back and taught here for 5 years or something. I mean, trying to attract, trying to promote from within sort of, you know. And I don't think it made it through the budget last year. Is that what happened to that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Town council cut us again.
There's a lot of asks out there, you know.
I mean, we do have right now, I'm at least 4 or 5 Block Island graduates.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
On staff, you know what I
On
mean?
staff,
So that,
yeah.
it's an obvious,
Mhm.
you know, like, why not, like, explore
Yeah.
that? So it's a reasonable idea.
How about, I mean, with the status of broadband now, is there investigating distance learning? To at
We are.
least get the higher end staff for some of the courses that you need?
No, there's a lot of it happening.
Yeah, it's like,
We are,
The administration could.
we're looking into having remote learning with other school districts. We have new ViewSonic boards. The technology, as you said, is a lot better than it used to be, more reliable. So we are looking at that option. There is nothing better than a face-to-face
True.
teacher, though.
Yeah.
Remote learning is not for everyone. But for some of our students to offer advanced classes, it is an opportunity that we're looking into.
God, how many years ago was it when you had the big connection with Westerly and it was
Yeah.
trying to
20 years.
mesh, 20 years, mesh the schedules? That was one of the bigger problems.
Yeah. It was 20 years ago, I think.
Yeah,
Big TVs.
Mhm.
yeah. Okay, anybody else on this side of the table got any questions? What is your budget schedule? When do you,
So our budget review will start in earnest after the holidays. We have put out requests for teachers for what they need. Melanie and I have looked at the preliminary data, but we'll start in earnest when we come back from the holiday break. I can tell you we have some unknowns at this time. We're still in negotiations with the teachers union to settle a new contract. Contract expired August 31st. Our next scheduled session, which is actually a mediation session, is January 7th. State aid is unknown at this time, although we're expecting it to be close to level funding. Annual insurance rates are not in yet. We do know that we'll need increased professional development, whether or not that's within the budget or not is still to be determined, especially at the elementary level. The state is requiring all districts to adopt a state-approved curriculum in science as they've done in the past with math and ELA. So the training expenses, particularly at the elementary level, will cause us a need to increase the professional development budget. And we have several personnel contracts, myself, Principal Warner, the special ed director, and the assistant to the superintendent, contracts that are all expiring this year also. So those are the unknowns. And that's pretty much where we are for tonight.
Is there anything else that you wanted to tell us? No, you're.
I think Charlie, I was going to talk about the refurbishment of the gym, the air quality, but Charlie filled us in on that. And the new construction moving forward, the plans. So no, that's all I have for tonight.
That's it.
I think I'll add, and I haven't talked to Charlie at length about it, but once these things are done, we have to make sure we stay on top of them. I'll just use the vents, for instance, the venting system in the gym, because that's where I am most of the time. But 2 years ago, I'm like, wow, those things are dirty. And I never really explored it. And the guys are there cleaning it now. And they, I'm like, how often do these have to be cleaned? And there's an actual regular maintenance schedule, things like that. And I've said this again, when I'm sat in those seats, I'm like, we have to maintain, like, we can't, this isn't like you need a new roof, you get a new roof. This isn't like a capital improvement item. This is just a normally budgeted item, right? Like maintenance for that. The vents have to be cleaned every 2 years, or you put it in the budget. It can't be cut. Like you have to clean the vents,
Filters,
what have you.
crazy. They've never been changed.
And I know when
13 years
Yeah.
since they built the new gym.
I know when
The filters have not been changed once.
yeah, exactly. And when Sam Berg was here, he started getting all of our facilities on that maintenance schedule. We had a fleet maintenance schedule. So we just need to make sure that when we spend all this taxpayer money on getting the school updated and fixed, make sure that it stays, up to par.
Yeah, I have that concern, not only with the school, with all the properties,
Right,
with the
absolutely.
town has, whether it be the town manager's house, the fire barn, preventive maintenance, is the bottom line. Without preventive maintenance, you're paying 2 and 3 times what it costs because of the extra damage that's caused by whether it be water or not cleaning the filters and the boiler acids. So, I think that's, when it comes down to that, the school's no different than any other building, that the town owns, and we need to get a good grip on that.
And the big challenge is finding bidders, never mind qualified bidders, just bidders. I mean, when, we just have one bidder, what do? That's the situation. We had one bid for $13 million. We had $10 million. What do? And I don't know how to solve that problem, but it's just part of, I think, our geography. To be honest with you. And there's also a lot of competition in the state right now when they dump that much money into having all these schools redone at the same time. There's not a lot of people that do the work that qualify. And this isn't exactly, what you want to commute here, or you want to, work on Narragansett.
Yeah.
So, whatever.
Right. Well, and I think also we have sort of like regular turnover in our administration.
Yeah.
I think we're really lucky right now. It's like fantastic to have you back, and
Thank you.
we have a great principal, but because there's so much turnover, those things get lost. So we have to have sort of a separate tracking system for all that,
For the maintenance part.
for the
right?
maintenance
Yeah,
part
yeah,
of it.
exactly.
Right.
And
I mean,
I've
not that
done
it's
that.
like
I mean-
not that it's you're not changing the filters, but like there's got to be some trigger that reminds everybody, because we have a lot of turnover and because it falls outside of a lot of people's job.
Right.
Well,
We created a position of
Facility manager.
head custodian recently, and Sarah Sue Dean is doing that, and she's been on top of it. Like she
She's
has-
great.
She has Oceanside in there, and they walked through and took all the filter number down and everything, and they're in the process of replacing them for the first time since the new gym's been put up. And so, I think, like you said, we have the turnover in the administration, but it's not the administration's responsibility.
Yeah.
It is in the big picture. But, you need that person in charge of whatever the department may be. This happens to be custodians, and she's on, But
Well, but the,
before that came about, she wasn't the head custodian. It wasn't happening,
Right.
So.
But we had Everett for a while and Everett was on top of that. Like, I guess the change happens everywhere, not just at the top, at the bottom,
but even, I mean, when we put in the facility manager position, and when Sam had it, it was shared with the school. And he at one point had purchased a computer program that was going to track all of those things, because yeah, we weren't going to rely on the superintendent or the principal to say, gee, I got to check the filters today, amongst other things.
Right, it should be,
So do you have contact with, is Tom, is that his role now? Is he facilities manager? Tom Reesum? I don't.
Yes.
I'm gonna say, I think so.
And do you have,
So
so do
he
you,
was spending a bunch of time at the school, and he was, from what I was told, he was instructed not to spend so much time at the school.
Well, if I could clarify, if you don't mind.
Go ahead.
I had a meeting with Amy, with Tom Rism and Sarah Sudine, just defining who does what, so that there's no stepping on toes, so to speak. So Tom is involved in the major construction projects, and Sarah Sue is more involved in the day-to-day and the maintenance. And that's, in my opinion, new this year, a clear definition, so that people can know what they're supposed to do and stay on top of it.
good, okay.
Everett put together a manual,
Yeah,
and nobody can seem to find it. And it was what to do, when to do it, which room to do it, in every room in the school. And he put a lot of time into it, and it was very thorough, as it would be from being from Everett. So, and I know that administrators have been looking
I don't-
for it.
I've
but you
asked,
did.
but I don't even know where to begin to look for it, but I've asked where it could possibly be. And I haven't gotten very far yet.
did you ever ask Sam Bird whether it got transferred to him when he was the facilities manager?
I haven't been in touch with Sam in 4 years,
Yeah,
but he may have it, not sure.
Not to get caught in the weeds,
Weeds.
but I think you have a long agenda to move along. The bottom line is, I think it needs to clearly be defined as far as if the generator goes down, that's with,
Sarah.
Mike
Sue.
Shay's department. If it's a lock, whose is it? I mean, it has to be defined down to that,
Absolutely.
because
Yeah,
the finger pointing gets back and forth. It's not
Oh,
fair to anybody. At the end of the day, I don't care if it's a school or the town hall, the money's coming out from the same people.
Mhm.
So, and I don't think that's always been very clearly defined. So I think that's the most important thing, to get that straightened out. And then what you're talking about, Chris, the preventive maintenance, there's some accountability as to who's responsible to do what from that end of it. So I'm glad to see the superintendent has started that process.
okay. Amy, is there anything you want to add?
Sure. Just one other topic, because I've heard a few different iterations, but whether the school committee is considering moving meetings to town hall or staying at the school, or is broadcasting an option? Is there an update on that?
It's an agenda item tonight,
Okay.
Amy, under new business.
Got it.
We're discussing both scenarios,
Thank you.
whether or not we establish a system or have meetings here.
Yeah, I mean, there isn't a great coverage anymore with the Block Island Times, so having it broadcast, whether it's here or there, if we're gonna start having community conversations about the future of the school, it's a good idea to resolve where, even if you do occasional meetings here, on that broad topic,
Yeah, it is on an agenda item later to discuss a couple of options.
Mhm.
Like Mr. Comrie said, it's
Extend it courtesy to the public, to be able to go back and watch them. We just have to figure out.
et cetera, so we're gonna talk about it tonight.
good, good.
I mean, I know it's not mandated by the charter, but I just feel like with the amount of money that would be going into a project like we're talking about, it's good to have the public informed.
Okay, with that, I'll move to adjourn our meeting. All in favor? Aye. So you guys can move up here and
Great.
take over.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Item number 3, which is public comment. Anybody have any public comment? Audience? Hearing none, I will move on to item number 2, which is minutes from November 18th open, November 18th closed. You have a chance to read them? So moved. Any questions or changes? All in favor? Aye. Next item, reports, school committee. I think Charlie gave a pretty comprehensive report during the meeting. You have anything to add, Charlie? About the building committee, you have anything to add?
I had pizza for dinner.
All right. If I can request for next meeting, I know there are some other committees that exist in the school. I think there's a school improvement committee. There's an athletic committee. Is there anything else? A what? An ideas committee? Or? All right, so I think we could get an update from all those groups as to where they are or what's been discussed.
Do you want that monthly?
Student council too, they're always fun to listen to.
Student
Student
council. And what? Scheduling. I do not want those monthly,
Not monthly.
no, but I think for the
Spread them out.
January is just kind of get an update from each of them, whether it's in person or just in writing, just so we can figure out where they are. And because if anything comes across our agendas or our table that they could be tasked with, like the athletic committee, I think I wrote a letter to the athletic committee before their meeting, like that would be helpful, like just to get updates. There's these committees that exist, the ideas committee, maybe they can come up with something that we need help with, school improvement, et cetera. So if we have that for January, just an update where they are, what they're doing, et cetera, that'd be great.
Okay.
Report, superintendent report?
Yes, standing of accounts in your packet, you have a spreadsheet. We're projecting ending FY '25 with a surplus of $117,732. Now that the new NSEA wage reopener has been settled, new salary amounts have been accounted for in this spreadsheet. So I'm looking for a discussion, possible vote for the standing of accounts for November 30th.
So you want approval for the standing of accounts as of November 30th? So moved. Anybody have any questions? How's the surplus work now? Like moving forward, Melanie, like surplus, we roll it over, give it back? Okay. Okay. Okay, that's why I'm asking.
Yeah.
That's all right. So it's a fund balance that's been allocated. Or I mean, this will go into the fund balance that we've already out, yeah. This, okay. I'll make a motion to approve the standing of accounts. All in favor? Audit extension request.
This is not a voting item, it's just an informational item. The town has requested more time to complete what's necessary for the annual audit. The school submission was completed in September. And in your packet, you have a letter
Letter from the
requesting
auditor.
that extension. That's all on that. It's not a voting issue.
Anybody have any questions? Air care, next item.
Air care, I believe we've covered. It was a 3-week process to do the air ducts, Monday through Thursday. They're there now. They'll be wrapping up on this Thursday night. And that's the first part of the remediation. The second part, as we stated, is going to be February and April vacation in the lower basement part of the building.
Is that why the gym's so hot?
I think you're
I
getting,
think it's
you're
gotta be.
getting, probably getting more air now.
That's what
They
I mean,
did,
like
they
it's
did the gym last
Actually
Monday.
Clean vents.
Yeah.
and Filters.
Yeah.
Things is steaming in there. Attendance report. We have the attendance report in our package.
Yes.
Packets. Are there?
Yes, there's two.
There's two.
Student attendance package breakdown, you have,
Yep.
you have this page in your report. And also, this is from this is dated through last week and it's a year to date through last week. And I went on the portal this morning to get the percentage as we did last month. At this time, we're 20, just over 20% better than this time last year in attendance. Let me see, 39%, we're in the 36th percentile across the state. We have 19% students who are chronically absent.
In comparison to last year, I'm trying to find the comparison, but what was it? Was
I-
it sick?
I don't believe you have this sheet.
Oh,
This wasn't the portal. We're 20% better than this time last year. Last year, we had 637 students absent as of this date. And this morning, it was 509 students absent
Since the beginning of the year.
since the beginning of the year. Yes.
Okay.
So that's good. Teacher attendance is the second spreadsheet. This is broken down. We have just under 90% of teachers present. This is just for November. Just under 11% absent, and then that rest of the list is the breakdown of that 11%. So 16% were unpaid, 36% were sick, 46% temporary leave, and then the temporary leave is broken down. You can see there. This is just November. Yeah, I think the good news is 90% were present.
Anybody have any questions for Mike on this? Old business. Building committee update for discussion.
I think we just covered that.
We sure did.
Yeah.
I'll have questions for Charlie though at some point because I just need to be first of where we were and where we're going a little better. Policy updates and revisions for athletic compensation. This is
Yes,
up for.
Yeah, I'd like to explain this. In your packet, you have the new copy of policy HC. I have the old one here. This goes back to October. When I returned in July, there was a request from the school committee to post coaching positions annually. which we proceeded to do, and then it was brought to my attention that conflicts with the existing policy, which is policy HC. So we have changed that to this language. The old language stated that however, lacking a school committee vote of non-renewal upon recommendation of the AD, the incumbent coach may continue to hold the position from year to year. Under normal circumstances, notification of non-renewal will be given no later than 2 months prior to the beginning of the season. Now it just says, instead of that, all coaching positions will be posted each year. And it was brought up at the October meeting initially, and I did not post it in time to get it on the November agenda. That's why it's been 2 months, but it has been on the website. There's been no feedback that I'm aware of to me on the changing of the language, other than at a follow-up discussion, whose responsibility is it to notify the existing coaches that their positions are annual. So I did send out letters. We sent out letters to all the existing coaches for the last 3 years. This policy was subject to change so that they would be aware if they wanted to continue coaching, that they'd have to be aware that the positions are going to be posted and they have to reapply every year.
So if this requires a vote or discussion, I don't think you could do it with two because I have to recuse because I'm on it.
Oh, good point. Okay,
So
so we'll do this in January. Okay.
that's the recuse.
Okay. Sorry, I should have picked up.
That's quite all right. No.
Okay.
I should have just said that at the beginning.
All right. Now we know for next.
But we'll need a
Come
quorum
back
for
to this
next
in
month.
January.
New business, air care.
I'd like to table 7A air care proposal. It has not, I haven't received it yet. I'm expecting a quote for construction work, the second part of the basement remediation. So the company will come in and remove the wallboard and areas, ceiling tiles that are contaminated, but we're also seeking the same company to give us a bid to replace it. And I have not received that to date. It was put on here last week, hoping I'd have it by tonight, but I don't.
Okay. So we could table 7A. 7B, a broadcast system for media center for broadcasting our school meetings.
Okay, so the next motion is the school committee meeting dates, so I'll try to be as brief as possible. So when I came back in July, I was told that there was a desire to get a broadcast system similar to the one we're using tonight set up in the media center of the school. I did contact North Kingstown School Department, who does a lot of our IT work. I didn't hear back, and quite honestly, it just fell off my plate of things to do. I was reminded the outgoing chair, so I recontacted North Kingstown and Mr. Rism. Mr. Rism sent Paul Gunn, who's an electrician here on the island. I don't know if he's on the island, but he's available to the island. He came out to the school about 3 or 4 weeks ago and looked at the media center for installation of a similar system to this. It wouldn't be quite as robust, particularly the motion camera. It would be a fixed camera in place above that arc ceiling facing the school committee, and there'd be a podium and microphones. He said it'd be approximately $10,000, and if we wanted to move forward with that, I told him since it was going to be over 10,000, it would have to go out to bid first. And before he did all the work for a bid, first of all, there'd have to be a bid, but he wanted to make sure that we were going to do it. So at that point, I contacted Millie here and worked out the dates, all these dates. This facility is available for these dates for the school year of 2025. If the school wanted to have the meetings here, it is available to use the system that exists. Or do we want to move ahead with doing a bid and installing our own system? Again, it would be approximately $10,000. I believe, according to Mr. Gunn, the system here is about 5 times that, but I don't have a figure on that. So what I'm requesting is a discussion, possible motion to move forward with a quote for a broadcast system at the school.
I have a question about here first. What is it? Probably for Laurel, what's it take to run the system here? And the only reason I ask is because there's a lot of moving parts. I know for planning, sometimes there's glitches here and there, but what's it take? 1, 2 people? Can Gus do it alone? Is it like, I mean, how is it?
Actually pretty simple about something happens.
Okay.
And that's where yeah, once you start it, one person can certainly run it.
Okay.
I usually do what you do.
Right.
And then it depends, you know, last week we couldn't get the camera to work, some wire had come over there, talking to ice and stuff. I mean, you can still run your meeting if you're not on.
Well, that was my next question is in the event, and I've talked with Mr. Comrie about this. It's like, in the event that we have an issue, we can still hold our meeting. This is just an extended
Yes.
service to the community.
I did talk to the school attorney about
Yeah.
that, and a notice would have to be included on the agenda that any technical malfunction in electronic transmission that limits the public viewing from viewing or hearing the meeting is not and would not be a violation of the open meeting law.
Okay.
And that would be stated on the agenda.
Having the system at the school, on the other hand, certainly would be nice, because I'm sure at some point we're gonna be required to do this. But what are your thoughts, guys?
I'm thinking the flexibility, because a lot of times the meeting dates get changed, and I
Right.
don't think that there'll be. I mean, look, there's other meetings here,
Right, but also the flexibility if,
I mean, when we have emergency
Other
meetings,
end, yeah.
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 The
So,
last time that we had looked into doing this. Last year, I think, exactly what it was, I think the quote was a lot higher than 10 grand.
it was 50,000.
Right. So I'm fine, that's always been my hold upon it, is the amount of money it's gonna cost. But for $10,000, I mean, it's not chump change, but it's not a stretch.
Annie,
Yeah, I agree.
would you? So is the sentiment to move for a quote?
I think so.
All right, so I'll make a motion to move forward with a quote for the school broadcast system, so we can hold meetings in the library like we do and extend that courtesy to the public to watch the streaming.
Okay.
I do assume that means we'll have to have our own. This is on YouTube, right? So,
It would be our own YouTube channel, the way I understand it.
Okay.
And we'd have to have a dedicated laptop for the meetings,
okay.
which we could do.
So moved. Or second, I was saying.
All in favor?
Discussion.
Discussion?
No,
Sorry.
I
Oh.
was just gonna say,
If I don't look up, say something. Cause I'm like. Yeah,
Could you step up to the microphone
Yeah.
and state your name, please?
I will say, I want to preface this by saying, when we have this system, you will need to come up to the mic and the podium. You will. Well, if you sit way in the back like you normally do, if you come up front, it'll be right there. Just so you know. It will be part of the necessities. You'll have to come to the podium and state your name and discuss, et cetera.
Yeah, they can sit on their couch and complain about it instead of.
Anything else? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Meeting dates. We need a motion to accept the school meeting dates for 2025. So right here.
I'll make a motion so we can discuss it. So moved.
Discussion.
Somebody has a second.
Second.
Fifteenth,
June 16th
June
and
16th?
September 15th. Move it to a Tuesday or earlier in the day, if possible.
June 16th. You want that on the 9th or the 23rd?
No, I'm saying earlier in the day.
So 4 o'clock?
Or 4 o'clock or Tuesday. At 7.
No. You have any preference?
Whatever fits Annie's schedule.
Well, we
You're
do
the
need-
only one that ever says that to me.
You're the only one that works, right?
I'm just saying, we could do it at night. On
June
Tuesday.
17th is fine. If we can amend the schedule for June 16th, make that June 17th. And what was the September one?
15th,
Move it to the 15th?
move
No.
it to the 16th.
16th. So
16th.
basically make each of these Mondays a Tuesday, yes, thank you.
So they're Mondays now, so they go to Tuesdays?
And it's just gonna.
Just for that
he's not-
June
Not just me.
June,
And for September,
All right, so the June meeting will be Tuesday, June 17th,
correct.
but at the regular time? 7?
Regular time's fine.
Okay. And September will also be Tuesday, the 16th at 7.
Right.
Yes.
Okay. Otherwise, as on the sheet,
I don't plan this far ahead, Annie, so.
I'm a planner.
Fact that you're calling out September already. Yes, Dan.
So I don't know that there'd be administrative housing available on the 17th of June at that point. And maybe moving it back to 4 o'clock. or 5
Oh, yeah, that's right. That's why we did it earlier anyway.
Oh, is that why we did the other two early? So June 17th, 4 PM.
okay.
Or we could do the 16th either or.
What about the 16th? And that you're,
That would be fine.
that's fine, right? Because that's normal school year. All right. Or that doesn't conflict with the housing. Yeah, I know. All right, so are we clear with this changes?
Just the September.
June 17th, 4 PM.
Okay,
September 16th, 7 PM. I mean, yeah, September 16th, 7 PM. So both of those are Tuesdays.
7 PM, okay. Otherwise, as it is?
Otherwise, as is.
Okay.
Any other questions with the changes?
And just, Mr. Chair, while we're on it, the next meeting for this group is budget workshop on Monday, January 13th. That was on the approved budget schedule from last meeting.
Let me put that in right now.
That at 7 PM?
Yes.
The 13th, Monday, the 13th at 7 at the school.
All right,
Did we have a motion on it?
we did.
Okay.
And it's seconded.
The dates?
What's that?
I
There
missed
wasn't a
it.
specific motion stipulation, it was more of a request.
All right, then I'll make a motion to amend the school committee dates for 2025. June date, make it June 17th, 4 PM.
June 16th. Isn't that what he's-
I said the June date is now June 17th at 4 PM.
I think you can stay the 16th. It doesn't matter to me. I think that's what Dan was saying. But it doesn't matter to me, as long as it's at 4, because they can't stay. No. 17th is fine.
And September 16th instead of September 15th. That's my motion.
Second.
Perfect.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Great. All right, next on the agenda is tuition reimbursement. We need a motion to approve request for tuition reimbursement to Cape Mello per New Shoreham teacher contract, Article 11, Section H.
Yes. And the details are in your packet.
I have those details, yes. Can I have a second?
Second.
Any questions? Discussion, none?
Love professional development. It's great that people are taking advantage of that. We have it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Next is I'll make a motion to approve the request for course tuition reimbursement to Lori McTeague for New Shoreham teacher contract, Article 11, Section H. All in favor?
Aye.
Next item's diesel school bus. The full-size diesel bus has failed inspection. I looked at the inspection report. It looks like brakes, brake lines. So we need to discuss whether or not we want to fix it, dispose of it, or sell it. What do we want to do?
Get rid of it.
All right. Want to make the motion?
Make a motion to get rid of the,
Sell? Dispose?
whatever, the easiest thing to do.
Housing.
2011 Bluebird school bus, VIN number 1 Bravo Alpha Kilo Golf Charlie. Papa Hotel 4 Bravo Foxtrot 278895. This is gonna do nothing but continue to cost us money. I think that when we were trying to buy it a couple of years ago, I stated that, but
So surplus it, try to sell it.
surplus it.
Okay.
I'll second that.
What?
Any question? You all right? You sure?
Mannerism over there. She never says a word.
Maybe that,
We
yeah.
didn't put the little bus on the agenda, but it's also just sitting there. It's not being
Yeah, it's
used.
gonna rot away too.
It is eventually,
So, God,
but it's not on the agenda.
we'll put it on the next one
All right.
because is it uninspected? Is it broken?
No, it passed, but it's not being used. So it's gonna go the same fate
Yeah,
of the
it's gonna-
diesel
same
bus
thing's gonna happen.
eventually.
Okay.
So 2017, I believe.
We'll put it on the next month's agenda, that specific bus.
There was
It
all
does-
sorts of talk of painting it, putting it on the mainland. They couldn't find it, we couldn't find a place to park it, and like, it's just,
So,
you're not gonna get a lot of money for it, or you're gonna get more for it now than you will in 2 more years when nothing works on it. It's been sitting for 2 years on Block Island with the saltwater car wash every other day.
all right, so we'll put that small bus on the agenda
Okay.
for next month. Discussion about the big bus.
No, this is better.
The list,
I was
little,
gonna say maybe make a suggestion of talking to Joe just to see if he's confident that the electric bus is good enough that he doesn't need to have a backup bus.
we'll give that,
Mhm.
yeah, we'll,
Yes, yes.
before next meeting, yeah. The big bus isn't one of
No,
those
no,
options, yeah. Okay.
Sorry.
No, that's why I wanted next month, because there's a couple of options and that's one of them. The backup. So motion was seconded, all in favor? Aye. Mowing bid. Mike, you want to take over the mowing bid?
Sure. 2 pieces of paper in your packet. One is the actual bid that was placed several weeks ago. And the second piece of paper is the only bidder that we had, Quality Caretaking LLC. For mowing, it's a 10% increase. It's currently $500 per mow. It's going, if this is accepted, it goes to $550.
What did we pay last year?
I'm sorry?
Oh, you know something? I have to recuse myself.
I don't know if I could, yeah, we're not bidding on it, but
Wait, yeah, because you own
Yeah.
mowing business, never
Yeah.
mind, yeah, so you
I
gotta,
could be able to table it.
we gotta
because
table it.
2 of us.
You can't
want
vote
to bid.
then.
you both?
Yeah, you both are.
What?
Are you both formally, or there's 2 form, there's form in your packet.
Yeah, I was wondering why this was in there. You are good.
Good catch. There it goes.
I read the agenda.
All right.
I didn't read the agenda.
So we'll have to table mowing bid and hope that Persephone and Ryan are at the next meeting.
Okay.
Because neither of them have an issue. Item 8, it's just a informational calendar of upcoming events.
Yes.
We have a New York City field trip, March 17th to 19th, grade 9. March 17th to March 21st, further afield. This is what all the fundraising is going on in this town for, like a lot of it anyway. Successful fundraising, right?
Yeah.
Good. I mean, I like the ideas, like the soup, and I was like, that was really good. The soup one was really good. April 1st, PSAT, SAT testing day.
Mm-hmm.
April 26th to May 2nd is senior project informational presentations. Then the May 12th to the 16th is a senior project formal presentation. And then May 22nd, the 4th and 5th grade go to, what's a recorder field trip? What?
The recorder, the
They go to the,
wooden flute.
they pay the recorders.
Still?
Yeah.
Oh, that's
It's
good.
with the Philharmonic, or one of the-
They go to a
the ensemble.
show.
The
That's cool.
Philharmonic in East Providence
Okay.
School.
Correspondence. Do we have any correspondence? I don't think so.
I don't. I also don't have anything for executive session.
Nothing
I
for
put it on
executive
there.
session?
Did.
All right. Then that means we're at the end. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you.
All right, thank you.